Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Monday morning the 14th of July. And in this video I want to talk about a case that up to a few hours ago I'd never heard of this case. This is the case of Ella Saylor. She's been missing since February of 2024. And it was only when someone posted a short article to her case in my Facebook group last night that I became aware of Ella's existence and her tragic life, which culminated in her disappearing on the 3rd of February 2024, and she hasn't been seen since. I did a little bit of digging, and there's been some discussion about her case on Reddit. But I'm going to read you this article from the Star Press in Indiana. And this was written in 2024. And I hope after hearing this, more people are going to look into this case and maybe get some answers as to what really is going on here. Alright, so this is then 15-year-old Ella Saylor missing from Muncie in Indiana. Let's talk about it. I'm going to read this full article, and it starts off with, somebody who is living a decent life. She was 15 when she disappeared, freshman in high school. She'll now be 16. She loves the colour teal, plays violin, and enjoys learning Japanese. She enjoys entertaining her younger siblings. She loves to sketch landscapes and is a voracious reader, particularly the Harry Potter books. She's the eldest of 5 adopted siblings, along with her biological younger sister, who was adopted by the same family. But Ella Saylor ran away twice in a span of 6 months. But on February 3rd, 2024, she went missing, and that was the last anyone heard of her. The Muncie Police Department issued a silver alert and reports weekly to the Saylor family, only to say they found nothing. Despite best efforts of investigators, family and the community, the search for Ella has not yielded her whereabouts, Deputy Chief Melissa Criswell said recently. Her adoptive mother and father, Elizabeth and Philip Saylor, and their 4 other adopted children don't understand what happened to Ella. When I close my eyes at night and try to sleep, I just keep trying to figure out what we did wrong, Elizabeth Saylor said. It's like we're living in hell. No, it's even worse. So who are the Saylors? Let's talk about them just briefly. Elizabeth and Philip have been foster parents for the last 9 years to more than 20 children, after having trouble conceiving and then going through medical testing and evaluation. After 3 years of marriage, Elizabeth said it was time to look at taking in kids who needed someone to love them and give them a normal life, like other kids have. We know there are children out there who needed families as much as we wanted to be parents. To be accepted into the foster program, Elizabeth and Philip had to undergo a series of visits. These Department of Child Services home studies are standard and require a look into the applicant's finances, lifestyle, and household to prevent or remedy child abuse and neglect following both federal and state laws. The Saylor family house became a safe haven to foster children over the 9 years that they've been doing this, with Elizabeth also training as a CASA volunteer and serving as a court-appointed advocate for children in other DCS cases. CASA volunteers gather information and make recommendations to a judge about what is in the child's best interest. So you would think that Ella, needing a home, would be safe with the Saylors. But things went completely, tragically wrong. So let's rewind and look at Ella's early life. This is absolutely tragic that this has happened to this child. And the behavioural issues that she started to display, I think, in part, will stem right the way back from when she was tiny. The struggles that Ella has faced in her life are many. And the fact that she's now been missing for well over a year. This is the final straw in this really tragic life. So, on November 29th, 2013, DCS first investigated a Marion, Indiana home with children because of concerns of deplorable living conditions. And this is according to a DCS report. By January 1st, 2014, Ella was removed from the home. A Newslink Indiana article published on September 17th, 2020, told Ella's story. In it, the girl visited her old home in Marion with the Saylor couple who had fostered her and then subsequently adopted her. "This is where I lived," Ella said. "Oh, look, cigarettes, broken glass, a diaper. It basically describes my childhood life." Back in 2014, when she was removed from the home, obviously she would have been 5. So her first 5 years were living in neglectful, deplorable, dirty conditions. Don't know anything about the circumstances of Ella's biological parents, but it wasn't good, and Ella was removed. "Just don't go in there or you'll get covered in fleas," a neighbour told the Newslink reporter. Ella has faced many struggles, from taking care of her newborn sister when she was only 5 to not even having access to basic human needs like food. The children lived in a home with no running water and no electricity. The neighbour threw an extension cord across the fence to help out. That was really kind of them. When the neighbours moved away, though, Ella lost her only support. DCS eventually determined the best plan for Ella and her younger sister was removal from their parents and adoption. On March 14th, 2016, DCS contacted the Saylor family and begged us to take 2 girls because they couldn't find them a home and wanted to keep them together, Elizabeth said. At the time, Ella was 7 and her sister was 6 months old. The parents eventually agreed to foster and later adopt the sisters. Get this, we were her 18th placement. So at the age of 7, she'd been to 18 different foster homes. Imagine the disruption. Imagine the lack of connect that this little girl would have with everybody in her world. Because the system pushes reunification, the girls were returned after each failed foster family placement, so they had to keep sending her home. They kept giving the biological mother another chance. The foster mother at the time delivered the girls to the Saylor family in March of 2016 at a gas station at Interstate 69 and Highway 332. So they're exchanged at a gas station from one foster home to another. Imagine that, like people that you've never met before just meet you at a gas station and you go home with them. This is wrong. The Saylors decided to adopt them in August 2018. Since then, the biological mother has given birth to 2 more children, the last of whom was also placed with the Saylors this year in an attempt to keep the siblings together. There were challenges at first, Elizabeth said. The girls started in separate bedrooms, but the baby was always looking for her older sister, who had been her caretaker and protector. So remember, at this time, Ella was only 7, 8 years old. When Ella first attended Muncie's Northside Middle School in 2019, she fell in with the wrong crowd. Her mother said, so that would be Elizabeth Saylor, said she was disrespecting teachers and failing classes. Her parents removed her from the public school setting to be homeschooled with a virtual online platform in February, and then COVID hit in March of 2020. So world went into lockdown. Kids were schooled at home anyway, via Zoom and Teams and the like. So we've got a pandemic on top of all of Ella's other problems. So Ella now becomes very isolated, being homeschooled. Now, look, homeschooling has a lot of advantages if it's done well, if it's done right, if it's in the best interest of the child. But when you've got a child who had a very disruptive life, homeschooling can then start to shield the problem that child might be having from everyone else in the world. So you ultimately have an isolated child who maybe the parents are trying to do the best for them, but there's then no, or at least less, potential for others external to the family to recognise and start signposting problems. And I think this is potentially, this is all just my opinion, but I think this is potentially what's happened in this case. When it came time for Ella to attend Muncie Central last fall, her parents told her that if she kept doing well at home studies, they would allow her to attend the high school. That was the worst thing we could have done, Elizabeth said later. We didn't know it at the time, since she had been homeschooled for over 2 years. Ella was both excited and anxious about going back, so she wanted to go back to school. Anxious, obviously, because she'd been homeschooled for the last 2 years, but it was a bad decision. We had a lot of one-on-one time together, shopping, going out to eat during that time. I thought we developed a pretty good relationship. So there's Philip and Elizabeth with Ella. However, at Central, Ella received a cell phone from someone at some point, so some random gave her a phone. Her parents said they kept one cell phone for all the children to use on the kitchen counter, but no child had their own phone. She got on social media and started using Snapchat, her favourite because the messages disappear. She'd tap into anyone's Wi-Fi, so she's started now displaying some potentially dangerous behaviour because she's got access to this phone that some random has given her, and she's using it in secret unsafely. Elizabeth said she had at least 2 phones. When I discovered one, I took it from her and destroyed it. I should have kept it. Yeah, because what messages were on there? Then, after that incident, she got another one. I was just livid. Who's given her these phones? Ella then ran away first time in September of 2023, just 1 month after her starting at Central. She left behind a note. She said she couldn't go back. She sounded like someone was making her leave. There's no turning away. I've got to go, the note said. Philip left for work each day around 4:30 a.m. and by the time Elizabeth woke the children for school, Ella was gone. Muncie police responded to the family's call about 7 a.m. on September 20th, so this is the first time she went missing, 14 at this point. The police case report details the names of her friends, the fact that she had changed out of her nightgown sometime in the night. She left through the front door between 11:30 p.m. and 4:30 a.m. She's made that conscious choice to leave. And who's she gone with? A Muncie police officer also faxed a report to the Missing Children's Clearinghouse. The parents found out through a friend that their daughter had a Snapchat account. The friend gave Elizabeth and Philip her screen name, and I guessed her password. The police were able to pinpoint the location. 2 grown men from Indianapolis were communicating with her at the same time. One man drove from Indy to pick her up. Ella told him what street she lived on. So she's being trusting, she's looking for connection, she's looking for people who give her attention. This is a messed up kid, guys. The parents also found out during their chats their daughter was taking and sending pictures of herself. The details are corroborated in a fact-finding report later filed in the Delaware Circuit Court too. Ella engaged in extremely high-risk behaviour on social media, ran away from her home with people she did not know. Fortunately, this time, Ella was recovered by law enforcement agencies in Indianapolis and was subsequently hospitalised at Riley Children's Health before returning home to live with the Saylors. The 2 men had given her weed and alcohol. One man was arrested and later released because she told them she was 18. Unbelievable. Upon Ella's return home from Riley on October 3rd, 2023, the behavioural health team recommended a safety plan that included locking away all sharps, chemicals, medications, with increased supervision at home. The team recommended that she continue to see a therapist and that the parents watch her for warning signs, including changes in sleeping, eating and talking. Her parents said she returned home angry. Probably these guys were telling her maybe things she wanted to hear. Maybe she thought that they loved her. Because these groomers who prey on vulnerable children know what to say. They know what buttons to press. She made accusations against Phil and I, Elizabeth said, and things here now start to take a really dark turn. She said we were abusing her mentally and neglectful, so DCS opened an investigation because they got to. DCS filed a petition involving Ella as a child in need services in October of 2023. Although the Saylors denied the accusations, DCS did not interview Elizabeth or Philip during the assessment regarding Ella's allegations towards them. Bizarre, according to a later fact-finding report. Ella's 14 at this point and her sister Emma is 8. The boys in the Saylor home included a 12-year-old and 8-year-old who were adopted within 2 years of the girls, and the youngest boy, who was scheduled to be adopted within the next 15 days. In June 2023, Ella's new baby sister had been placed in the home as a foster child, so we got another baby now from Ella's biological mother. So they're trying to keep members of the family together, which is good. Hopefully also to be adopted soon. However, due to these allegations, on October 19th, 2023, DCS removed Ella, the foster baby, and their youngest foster son. To date, DCS have never returned the baby sister, and the Saylor family does not know where she is. So presumably she's been adopted elsewhere. Anytime a child goes missing, it's imperative that immediate efforts be taken to locate that child. State law makes DCS records involving a child confidential, which prohibits us from disclosing records or commenting on any specific involvement with families and children. Brian Einman, DCS Deputy Director of Communications, said in a statement, and declining to elaborate on the Saylor case, generally speaking, it's important to remember that DCS becomes involved with families only if there are allegations of abuse or neglect that DCS is investigating, or if the child is a child in need of services. Meanwhile, Ella now is homeless. So, she's removed in October of 2023, placed in another foster home in another city. So she's taken away now from the only family she knows who've been trying to help her over the last few years. Elizabeth found out that the DCS had not counselled the new temporary foster parents on Ella's phone habits, nor any of the past situations. Why? Why? Because she's already run away once, been chatting to men, grooming her. Why would DCS not make that new foster family aware of that circumstance? The new family gave Ella a cell phone and placed her in the public school system. After 3 months, the new foster parents asked DCS to remove Ella from their home. So she's now being taken away from yet another foster placement. She was always talking to someone or herself in the bathroom, and they found her up in the middle of the night staring into their new baby's bassinet, kicking it. She's looking for attention. In a January 17th letter to DCS, this is 2024, the temporary foster mother requested that Ella be removed from their home as a disruption in placement. I am aware that there is no fear of Ella being a harm to herself, but I am very fearful of the harm to come to my home foster license, etc., with the continued lies from Ella. So she's made these allegations against the Saylors. She's removed from their home. She's put into a new foster placement, but that foster parent can't handle her. She's lying. She's up in the night. She's talking to people online or on her phone. So we have yet another DCS fact-finding session, which continued for 3 months. We had to go through fact-finding in front of the judge and hire an attorney, Elizabeth said. So this is now involving the Saylors back in the situation. According to her mental health therapist, since November 2017, in a letter dated October 26 and presented to the Delaware Circuit Court in the fact-finding session, the Saylors were not shown to be abusive. Since working with Ella and her family, I have not had any safety concerns, the therapist wrote. To my knowledge, discipline has always been Ella being sent to her room, having something removed and or writing sentences. I do not feel that there has been any history of dangerous or unsafe behaviours by the patient's adopted parents, Elizabeth and Phil. In the end, the court did not find the parents to be neglectful or abusive. So Ella, whatever accusations she'd made, she'd not talked to her therapist, and potentially she was making stuff up. DCS has not proven any preponderance of evidence that Ella's physical or mental condition is seriously impaired or endangered as a result of the inability, refusal, or neglect of the Saylors to provide Ella with necessary medical care or supervision. That's what the judge wrote. The court's coercive intervention is not necessary to ensure Ella gets the treatment and services necessary for her health and welfare. Ella's baby sister, who was taken away, has never been returned to the Saylors. But Ella goes back. Because of the high cost of an attorney and other fees, the family's church, Glad Tidings in Muncie, presented a cheque for expenses and Christmas gifts for the children. When the Amazon purchases were delivered to the door, Elizabeth said the children all ran to their bedrooms in fear of being taken away. These are really messed up children. DCS returned Ella on her 15th birthday, January 30th, after the foster parents said they wanted her out of her home. So this temporary foster placement, where she was lying and the foster mother said that she couldn't handle her, she's then, on January 30th, so this is just days before she disappears for good, she's returned back to the Saylors. She talked to us. The first night was bad. She yelled and cussed at us, Elizabeth said. Ella seemed fine the next 3 days, and Elizabeth Saylor and Ella went out shopping together. She talked about missing Filipino food, so I bought her all the ingredients so I could make her what she liked for dinner. Elizabeth didn't know at the time, but it turned out that Ella had another phone that she had hidden in her bra. On Sunday morning, they discovered that after being home for 3 days, Ella had run away again. And she's never been seen since. There are no leads whatsoever. Obviously, someone picked her up. There were possible sightings reported, but they all end up as dead ends. Since the start of 2024, the Indiana Clearinghouse for Information on Missing Children and Missing Endangered Adults reports 29 requests from missing persons with 19 activations and 18 recoveries. 10 juveniles are included on the list. Only Ella Saylor has not been found. The investigation to this point has received very few actionable leads and tips that have made it challenging to trace Ella Saylor's whereabouts, coupled with her prior knowledge of ways not to be traced. We ask that information continually be shared and all information provided to our department, says Criswell from the police. The family still mourns Ella. Elizabeth and Philip Saylor have decided to let their foster licence go. Because Elizabeth and Philip believe the DCS did not conduct a proper investigation, did not advise the temporary foster parents, and because they wrongfully removed their children, the couple is talking to Anderson attorney Dorothy Ferguson about how to hold DCS accountable. So somewhere along the line, balls have been dropped here. I mean, Ella, she's a difficult case. She's had a tragic life. She's acting out. She's not recognising when circumstances that she's putting herself in are dangerous. A whole host of things could have happened here, and it does seem that the worst did happen here. So DCS dropping the ball, DCS not informing the temporary foster parent that Ella has displayed dangerous behaviours in the past and run away in the past. That's a problem. But being returned back to the Saylors and then just a few days later disappearing for good, well, that's a red flag in itself. DCS has done nothing to assist this family and has only brought pain and suffering, Ferguson wrote. So this is the attorney. It's DCS intervention that has caused this child to be missing for so long and caused additional trauma to all the children in the Saylor's home. Meanwhile, Ella's purple thermos still sits on the counter. I love that girl, Elizabeth said. I'm afraid she's been held against her will. I really don't know if she'll ever come home. We're all traumatised. I go and see a therapist every week. I'm all screwed up. Phil and I see a therapist as a couple. My kids go to see therapists too. We're in debt I'm afraid we'll never get out of. All of this could have been avoided. There are policies and procedures put in place to avoid situations like this. Nothing is normal now. Anyone who may have information as to the location of Ella Saylor is asked to contact the Muncie Police Department at 765-747-4838. If you're in Indiana, I'm interested. Have you heard about this case? As I said at the beginning, I've not heard of this case at all. I've never seen anyone talking about this. I have a bunch of people from Indiana who watch my channel due to the Delphi case. What have you heard? What publicity has there been about Ella? Wherever you live, if you're a content creator who covers missing persons cases, please cover Ella Saylor's. I think it's a testament to how Ella's life has been failed. She's just gone without a trace. And who's actually looking for her? Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you watch my videos and you're not subscribed, you know what I'm going to say. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. I'm on 92,500 now, so I've only got 7,500 to go. So I know a bunch of people, almost 50% of people who watch my videos are not subscribed. So please do so. It's no skin off your nose. Just click the subscribe button. It's completely free. All right, guys. I'm out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon. Bye, folks.